people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Word round the campfire at 118 pounds is two of its unbeaten up-and-comers, Johanna Wonyou and Angelica Krysztoforska.
It seems Angelica's handlers have won the purse bid to stage the EBU title fight.
And Johanna Wonyou, one of the more promising unbeaten up-and-comers at this weight, she's going to have to pack her bags. She's going to have to travel. In all likelihood, she's going to have to travel to Poland. The silver lining for Johanna is that she's no stranger to fighting abroad.
She's no stranger to traveling.
The French-born, UK-based fighter was last in action opposite the ring Simone Salvatore in Italy.
Won a dominant points decision there.
Sporting a professional record of 9 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts. Only 2 recorded knockouts, but don't let that fool you. She can punch.
She's good.
To Angelica Krysztoforska, who sports an unblemished record of 7 wins with no losses, no draws, 5 knockouts.
She's actually pretty good, too.
Seems a very dangerous fight to me for both combatants. Both 23 years old, both unbeaten. This seems a very dangerous fight.
But it has to be a fight that Angelica's handlers are confident they can win. It has to be a fight they really wanted because they won the purse bid for it. They're the ones that are going to stage it.
Why would they go as far as winning the purse bid for this match to challenge Johanna Wonyou for her EBU title if they didn't like Angelica's chances? Now, Angelica, she is a good fighter.
She's got a mean streak.
Very aggressive. Having debuted as a professional in May of 2021, she fought 3 times in 2021, once in 2022, and 3 more times this year. That's right.
Was last in action in June.
Having only fought once last year, she seems to be making up for it this year, having already seen action 3 times this year. Once in February, then again in March, then again in June.
Making up for lost time.
To Johanna Wonyou, who debuted as a professional in October of 2020, and she's kept a pretty busy schedule as well. She's already fought 2 times this year, once in March, then again in May.
She fought 4 times last year, and she's already fought 2 times this year. So neither combatant has any ring rust that they need to shake off, and they're both the same age. They're both 23 years old, both in the same stage of their careers.
This fight will separate them.
Is Johanna going to face an Angelica Krysztoforska?
Well, as stated, Angelica Krysztoforska seems to be a very aggressive puncher, a very aggressive fighter, confident in her power, confident in her combinations, stepping into her shots and staying off the line as she does it.
Staying within striking distance of her opponent and in an optimal position to punch, an optimal position to counter.
I like her speed, I like her combinations, her ferocity, the pressure that she puts on these girls.
Good.
But make no mistake, none of these girls exhibit the ceiling, exhibit the ability of Johanna Wonyou, who's a very skilled combination puncher herself.
With a more measured approach, I'd say, than Angelica Krysztoforska.
More poised.
Angelica comes in hard and fast like a battering ram.
It's very early in her career, but she has the look of a mid-range to inside pressure fighter, mid-range to inside hooker.
Yeah.
Goes to the body.
Attacks the head, attacks the body.
With confidence. The only caveat, at least for me, is that a lot of these girls that Angelica has been fighting, these are girls with losing records, girls that don't exhibit the ceiling, the ability of a Johanna Wonyou. So you can unload combinations like that when you're fighting those kind of fighters.
Try that with Johanna, there's going to be something coming back at you.
Johanna doesn't just have fast hands, she's got fast feet to manage the distance and get off punches. If you try to stand in front of her too long, she's going to pop you.
Stated, you can take chances with girls that have upside-down records. You can unload.
Angelica's good, make no mistake, but I wonder if she's going to be able to stay in character with Johanna Wonyou.
They're both very good.
I really like how Angelica Krysztoforska stays off the line whilst closing the distance and being the aggressor.
Slipping, rolling, and riding punches, bobbing and weaving.
Getting off combinations at the same time. She's actually very good.
She's good.
Though her punches do seem a bit wider to me than Johanna Wonyou's punches. Wider, easier to counter, easier to get under.
Johanna's punches are shorter, more defensible.
Tighter, and thus harder to counter.
And I think Johanna Wonyou manages the distance a bit better than Angelica. Johanna exhibits the ability to fight both going forwards and moving lateral, whereas Angelica
seems to be at her very best when she's on the front foot, very front foot heavy, looking to crowd the pocket, looking to crowd her opponent.
Bit of movement might take something off Angelica's work rate.
Nothing against her, but it's safe to say that Angelica has never fought somebody like Johanna Wonyou before, whereas Johanna has fought one or two unbeaten fighters, unbeaten up-and-comers that show some ability. So I give Johanna Wonyou the slight edge here, even though she's gonna be the away fighter.
I think she's a little more versatile than Angelica, a bit more malleable.
Slight edge to the French-born, UK-based fighter Johanna Wonyou.
Johanna on points seems logical, though in a battle of the unbeatens, anything is possible. This fight is what will separate them.
See if we don't get an official fight date for this thing. In men's heavyweight news, Queensberry have launched the Usyk vs. Dubois appeal. Queensberry has launched an official appeal to the WBA over the shot that was ruled a low blow in last month's heavyweight unification clash between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois.
Most of you that follow this channel will already know how I feel about it.
That on the face of it, on the surface, the punch looks like a beltline punch, a beltline shot, but it's only actually Daniel's thumb, the thumb portion of the glove. That's the part of the glove that's on the beltline. The business end of the glove, the knuckles, they're actually on the trunks.
Makes it a low blow per the rules. Anything below the navel is a low blow. It looks like Daniel hit him in the protector.
But you know, there's still a portion of individuals out there who feel it wasn't a low blow. It was a legal punch. Veteran referee Joe Cortez, Jack Reese,
They think it was legal.
they thought the punch was legal. Louis Pabon didn't. And ultimately, it's at Louis Pabon's discretion, not theirs. The official appeal from Queensberry to the WBA, it reads as followed. This appeal is submitted by Queensberry Promotions on behalf of Daniel Dubois. Mr. Dubois competed in a heavyweight championship unification bout as mandated by the WBA on August 26 in Wrocław, Poland versus WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO champion Alexander Usyk. Owing to what this appeal argues were errors in judgment made by the bout's referee, Louis Pabon. Daniel Dubois was unjustly denied of his rightful status as unified world heavyweight champion. Accompanying this appeal is a signed letter from Mr. Dubois authorizing QPL,
Queensberry Promotions, LLC,
to submit it on his behalf pursuant to relevant WBA rules. Approximately 20 seconds into the fifth round, Mr. Dubois landed a body shot that dropped and severely hurt Mr. Usyk and seemingly crowned Mr. Dubois the heavyweight champion. However, the blow was incorrectly adjudicated as low by Mr. Pabon. Instead of being knocked out, Mr. Usyk was given a substantial recovery period, which allowed him to regain his strength and continue the bout without impediment.
The problem with this argument is that they're already jumping to the conclusion that Usyk wouldn't have gotten up.
That if Louis Pabon had started counting, Usyk would have stayed down. That's what this argument implies. That if what you're saying is that Daniel Dubois should have been crowned champion right then and there, that's assuming that Usyk wouldn't have gotten up and wouldn't have beaten the count if Louis had started counting. But Louis didn't start counting. He told Usyk to stay down. He told Usyk to take his time.
At the very most, what Daniel might have been robbed of was a knockdown.
Not a knockout. You don't know if it would have been a knockout because Louis never started counting, and if he had started counting, you can't tell us with any certainty how Usyk would have reacted. You can't tell us with any certainty that he wouldn't have rose to his feet and survived the round.
You can't tell us that. You're just assuming.
And that's assuming that it was a legal punch. That's assuming that the shot was a beltline shot. From where I was sitting, it didn't look like one. You've got a guy who's taller than Usyk and bigger than Usyk, bending at the waist, bending at the knees, shooting an uppercut.
It wasn't even the only punch that sailed low.
And as stated, while on the face of it, it might have looked like a beltline shot, a closer look reveals that the only part of Daniel Dubois' glove that's on the beltline is the thumb portion of the glove. You don't punch guys with your thumbs. You punch them with your fists, with your knuckles. And the knuckle portion of Daniel's gloves is actually below the beltline, on the trunk. It looks a lot like he hit him in the protector, which makes it a low blow.
Frank is going to milk this for everything it's worth. He's going to ham it up.
He's going to make it look good, but what's the likelihood that the WBA will be receptive to this appeal and give Frank and give Daniel what they want? This is the WBA we're talking about.
Nothing about these people surprises me.
Most feel that the WBA will elect to throw out this appeal, that Daniel's not going to get a rematch, and the WBA doesn't have it within their power anyway to overturn the decision, the outcome of the fight, as it were.
The local commission does that, not a sanctioning body.
If they wanted the outcome of the fight overturned, they would have to go through the Polish Boxing Commission in order to achieve that result, and I don't think they'd have any success with them.
People still arguing whether or not Daniel quit.
The guy literally said that he was disheartened. What does that sound like? I mean, at minimum, if you feel that the shot was legal, if you feel that you legitimately hurt the guy when you landed that shot, you should be...
Well, that should have got your juices flowing, your juices going.
But you're saying that you got disheartened, which is just another way of saying that mentally, you checked out. You quit.
You didn't try to pick up where you left off.
You quit.
That's it.
I feel like this is more about saving face for Daniel than anything else. That Frank still has to try and sell this fighter in future fights, future events, and he's trying to save face for him because quitting in the sport of boxing is often frowned upon.
To a lot of people, he quit.
To Tony Bellew, to Carl Froch, to Paul Smith, Liam Smith.
Johnny Nelson says it doesn't matter if the punch was legal or not because Daniel was going to lose anyway.
Just making a mountain out of a molehill. Elsewhere in the world of heavyweight boxing, as it pertains to the WBA regular title that Daniel used to hold, Mahmoud Charr has been reinstated as WBA regular heavyweight champion and has been ordered to face Jarrell Miller.
The fight between Usyk and Daniel was intended to phase out that WBA regular title as it stands.
All they've done is give it to someone else. Mahmoud Charr has returned to his previous secondary title status. A legal settlement between parties has forced the WBA to abandon its own title reduction campaign and reinstate Charr as its regular heavyweight titleist. The ruling was made less than a week after the sanctioning body eliminated the title following Daniel Dubois' 9th-round knockout loss to unified champion Alexander Usyk. As part of our court settlement, the World Boxing Association Championships Committee has reinstated Mahmoud Charr as regular champion of the organization's heavyweight division.
Mahmoud Charr has had a legal skirmish with the WBA dating back many, many months.
And as it pertains to Jarrell Miller, I told you, they couldn't keep him out for long. They couldn't keep him out forever.
He's back.
The agreement reached, which puts to an end a long dispute brought by the boxer and his team, the boxer being Mahmoud Charr, will allow the WBA to close this chapter, settling a dispute that has been going on for more than a year.
They've given Mahmoud Charr the WBA title on the premise that he must defend it against Jarrell Miller, and being honest with you, I think Jarrell Miller's going to win that fight. I think there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Remember that when Jarrell Miller snapped back that long stint of inactivity following his second anti-doping fiasco,
he came back as part of a WBA festival in South America.
The fight with Ariel Bracamonte that took place in Argentina as part of a WBA festival, some kind of WBA event.
I think Jarrell is in with the right people, that's what I think.
After the fight in which Alexander Usyk defeated Daniel Dubois, the Ukrainian had remained as the only heavyweight champion by way of the WBA. However, the organization is forced to make the decision to reinstate Charr as regular champion in order to continue with the normal operation of the body. According to the ruling, the WBA regular title is not only back in play, but will now be at stake for two separate mandatory title defenses. Charr was ordered to next face Brooklyn's Jarrell Miller, an unbeaten fringe contender and multiple-time drug testing offender, by no later than October 14th. The fight has to happen this year. The winner of that bout will then be required to next face the mandatory challenger as named by the WBA at that time.
You want to pay attention to that.
Because if things don't work out between Daniel and Usyk and this appeal that they filed, I could very much see the WBA ordering the winner of Charr versus Miller to take on Daniel Dubois.
That's what I think is going on here.
Charr previously held the WBA regular title dating back to a November 2017 points win over Alexander Ustinov. He never successfully defended the belt over a period of more than 3 years due to a variety of reasons. A positive drug test that was successful successfully challenged through a legal loophole the pandemic and failure to secure a travel visa, in time to face then unbeaten interim champion Trevor Bryan in 2021, and again 1 year later after he was already downgraded to a champion in recess.
Looks like Manuel finally got what he wanted, but it's not without its consequences.
The development served as part of the basis for an ongoing lawsuit filed in August of 2021 by Charr against Don King Promotions, Epic Sports, the WBA as a whole, and its president Gilberto Mendoza, named individually in the conspiracy complaint. The WBA was granted a motion to dismiss earlier this March, but the ruling was successfully challenged by Charr. The heart of the lawsuit stems from Charr's claim that King prevented the Germany-based heavyweight from proceeding with an ordered title consolidation bout with Bryan. The two were due to fight on January 30th of 2021 in Hollywood, Florida, and again in a rescheduled bout
The last January 30th in Warren, Ohio.
Both attempts fell through, with Charr stripped of his secondary version of the WBA heavyweight title as a result of the fallout. Charr was due to make $1.5 million for the fight in 2021 per the terms of a purse bid won by Don King Promotions, and which he now seeks to recover in addition to any other relief the court seems proper. Charr never defended his version of the heavyweight title due to a number of circumstances, the extent of which was the result of 2 years' worth of delays surrounding his ordered fight with Trevor Bryan, Don King's boy, who held an interim title at the time. The most extreme incident took place in the weeks and days leading to his canceled January 2021 fight with Bryan. Charr was denied due to a failure to secure a travel visa to the United States.
Bryan was due to face Charr earlier last year, only for history to repeat itself and Charr ultimately removed from the mix.
Bryan instead faced unbeaten Jonathan Guidry, whom he outpointed in a strangely scored split decision this past January, before losing the title to England's Dubois via fourth-round knockout on June 11th in Miami. Charr has fought 3 times since he was originally stripped of the WBA title. All have taken place in Germany and ended in early knockout victories for the 38-year-old Syrian heavyweight
who now lives in Dubai. Alexander Usyk will remain unaffected by the forced ruling.
So here's how I think this ends. They've given the WBA title to Manuel Charr to smooth things over with him, get him to calm down, all the while hoping that Jarrell Miller, who they have ordered him to fight, will become WBA regular champion, at which point
they're banking on Jarrell Miller beating Manuel Charr, and I think he can, I think he will.
Which point they may then order a fight between Jarrell Miller and Daniel Dubois. Remember what they said, the mandatory challenger to that WBA title will be someone of their choosing. That means the decision and the fighter, whoever it is. All of that will be decided at their own discretion, and I could very much see a fight between Daniel Dubois and Jarrell Miller happening.
Could be the WBA's way of smoothing things over between themselves and Daniel Dubois, Frank Warren, this appeal they just filed in association with the Usyk fight.
WBA may look to smooth things over by affording Daniel a shot at the secondary title that he used to hold.
What it will take to set these events in motion is for Jarrell Miller to beat Manuel Charr later on this year, and as stated, I think he can. I think he will.